Welcome back. You are watching Vegucation with the best host in the world. The name's Brit. And the next best host in the world.
My name's Leiah, and y'all know why I'm here. To entertain you.
Because you are watching Vegucation.
Well, you already said Vegucation. I didn't know if we were going to do the whole thing.
That's okay. Today's episode is about sadness.
So we're going to be extra happy.
Yeah, because we don't want to bring down the vibe.
No, to combat when you're sad.
Right. So step one, when you're sad, be happy. Is that how it works?
I don't think that's really how it works. And for anyone who has ever been sad, they would turn this episode off immediately.
It's true. You wish it was that easy though, right?
I do wish it was that easy. I mean, it can be. We can train our brain, but there are some I wouldn't even say chemical factors. I would say there's some physical factors that can affect our ability to be happy on a regular basis, right? Mm-hmm. Whether our body is converting, our serotonin levels.
What is happening around in Leiah's world when you feel the most sad?
Oh man, big, hairy, scary things. So change, or I haven't done it before, or it's something new in my business, or maybe I'm having to spend an amount of money that I haven't spent before that feels really big and really uncomfortable. Because I still am challenged sometimes with wanting people to like me and know my heart and know that I truly love everyone as much as I joke on this show and sometimes can be seen as the a-hole.
Recovering people pleaser.
I'm a recovering people pleaser, and it is tough when people decide they don't like you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or that you're not their cup of tea, or maybe you're too much. I think that can be something that could put you into a state of sad. And then the other thing, for anyone who is I'm a high 7 and a high 3 Enneagram. We could have a whole show talking about that.
A what?
Our Enneagrams.
Have we talked about this before?
I don't think we have, but I'd be curious. You're probably a 2 is my guess, but we'll have to take the test.
Sounds disrespectful. I'd like to know more.
The 2 is the helper, so it's really not disrespectful.
Oh, okay. Challenge those assumptions, folks.
But my husband and I are both 3s, which are the achiever, but I'm also a 7. And a 7 is the entertainer.
Correct.
And also I like to have fun doing everything that I do. So being an achiever and maybe not seeing those goals happen as quickly as we want them to, or those dreams come true or manifest as quickly as we want, sometimes that can put us into a state of sadness because we're like, it's not working out. Nothing's working for me.
Yeah.
What about for you?
I'm really empathetic. I'm a mom of boys, so I do feel like that experience.
That's your cancer.
Yeah, so I get sad when other people are sad.
Yes.
I also tend to get happy when other people are happy, so I'm really a sponge for the energy that is going on around me. So I can find it really easy to get sad if there is a lot of sadness around me. On the flip side, it's really easy for my spirits to be lifted usually if I'm around somebody that is just bursting full of joy. So in that regard, I always, I have learned over the years to be really cautious of the company that I keep.
I was just going to say, so your kind of protection shell is really, really important, because if you are hanging around super negative, super critical people all the time, you're going to fall into that really quickly. Versus me, I just hang out by myself a lot.
Well, and that's the thing for me. I retreat because I'm so susceptible to kind of falling into to other people's energy. So when I feel like I'm not in a good space, I will purposely not be around others because I'm already not in a great spot.
Right.
And if I encounter someone else that's not in a great spot, I'll just plummet.
That makes sense. I think that, again, part of learning how to be CEO of your life, CEO of your health, is understanding that we are in control, even though sometimes we'd like to think that we're not. And so looking at the dynamics of your family, right? We pick up what our parents did for coping mechanisms. So whether it's shutting down, doing the silent treatment, retreating away and sleeping. I know that's definitely something that you love to do sometimes.
What you're not going to do is take away my sleep, okay? I don't care if I'm happy or sad. A nap is a nap is a nap, and I love it.
Yeah, and for me, I have trouble sleeping because it's like I got to perform, I got to go. You know, I got to accomplish things. Like if I'm not getting an award for something, what the hell am I doing with my life? Which is inaccurate. That is not what we want to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, we're worthy because we are, not because we did something today.
Facts.
Yeah.
Preach it.
Yeah.
So what I think we could do maybe later on in this episode is maybe we could start to talk about what are some of those like healthy coping mechanisms for when you do feel sad. Maybe like what are the connections between what you're feeling, how you're fueling your body, what are some, you know, methodologies for like bringing up your serotonin. And I'm sure you have like all the tools and all the tips and all the research we can talk about.
Definitely. And I think that, again, we fall into that genetic factor, right? Where people go, okay, well, my mom had depression or my dad had depression, so that's just what I'm supposed to live with. And we here on Vegucation, we invite you to get curious and to really explore, is that just a story I was told? Is that the person I want to be? Could I step into a newer, more elevated, better version of myself? And what would that look like?
Yeah.
What would it look like to be happy every single day?
Ooh, so that is, we can't get into it. We have to take a break in a second, but I'm like itching to go there because that's reminding me of some tools you actually have helped me with around like visualization. So we do have to take a teeny tiny break, but we do have so much more Vegucation for you when we come back. So please stay tuned. Is there any correlation between water intake and serotonin? Cortisol? I got that out of the way. They're both important.
Correct. One of them makes you happy, the other one makes you stressed.
The happy one.
Serotonin. Welcome back to Vegucation. We are giving you a Vegucation from your sadness today.
It's kind of like a staycation with some education and some vegetables and some happiness.
In case you guys haven't realized, we like to make up a lot of words on this show.
And then we assign meaning
to all of them,
however we see fit. So sometimes
maybe we should
it
come
means
out with a dictionary.
Something different.
Dictionary.
We changed the meaning of Vegucation today, and I like it.
I do too. So,
tips for taking a vacation from your sadness.
Yes.
Well, we started to allude to it before we went to break. Visualization. This is something for me that is like really important, but also as I like kind of reflect on my life, as a kid, I did not understand the power of my thoughts. I did not understand the power of my self-talk, and I didn't understand how much weight the things that other people said to me and about me, like how much it carried. So in the household that I grew up in, there was a lot of like, well, I'm not being negative, I'm just being realistic.
Yes.
So my mentality all throughout life until very recently is like, good things, positive things are not realistic. Because I grew up hearing, I'm not being negative, I'm just being realistic. So I made that unconscious, subconscious connection and carried it with me, and it's not healthy.
And I think that's the reality for most people, right? How your parents responded to situations is going to be exactly how you learn to respond to them.
Yeah.
So understanding, again, your brain is a muscle. So if you want to change the way that you think and you want to change your trajectory, you have to start changing what your thoughts are day in and day out. Am I talking about how fat my stomach is on a regular basis? Am I talking about how I have zero money? Am I talking about how I'll never have the things that I want versus changing all of that to focusing what you actually want? So if your dream, right, is to move into a beautiful $1 million house, like sitting and visualizing on a regular basis, you know, when you're in your current house, close your eyes and picture being in your new house. You know, our thoughts become our reality. And I don't think enough people really realize that. So
true. And you really can change how you feel by refocusing what you think about. I know I made a joke earlier, like if you're sad, just be happy.
It's not possible.
If you're feeling sad, you can pause. I do this exercise with my kids, especially my younger one, because he just sometimes needs the reminder a little bit more. But if he's feeling sad, I'll ask him, can you play a game with me? We're going to go back and forth. You're going to name something that makes you happy. I'll name something that makes me happy. And we'll just keep going. And every single time.
It brings also the gratitude game, right? Like, so I could say, I'm grateful for filming Vegucation today. And then you go.
I'm grateful my face looks the way it looks right now.
I'm grateful that there's plant-based food for me to eat that doesn't harm animals.
I'm grateful you're my bestie.
I'm super grateful you're my bestie. So, right, like the energy in the room continues to go up.
You can feel it in your body.
You can feel it in your body as you say beautiful, nice things to each other. So, you know.
And to yourself.
And to yourself. Have a best friend. I always say have, you know, 2 people that you think of that always bring up your mood. And for me, that's usually Brit and my husband. Like, they are kind of my, okay, if I'm in a bad space, these are the people that I want to call that will get me back to a good space. And sometimes it's not talking about the bad thing that happened. So this is actually a perfect example. I tell my clients this. So when you have something bad happen to you, right? Perfect example yesterday at the airport. I had some lady go off on me for a literal no reason. And I knew it was about her. It wasn't about me. So I was calm and I was nice. We went our separate ways. I told Brit about it. I told my husband. I never, ever, ever recreate a bad story more than twice. So having that rule that we're not going to live in that bad space and tell it over and over and over again, which is just going to perpetuate more negativity in your day.
That's such a good tip because our minds can tend to replay over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And even though the thing happened, when you remember that memory, your body physically reacts to as if that experience were happening right here, right now.
Yeah.
So you give yourself 2 opportunities to relive that moment, and then that's it. You let it go. You don't talk about it.
100%. Yeah. And I think that, you know, another technique I like is obviously journaling. You can have no inhibitions when you're writing in your journal. And, you know, some people will say to me like, well, what if someone reads it? And I'm like, what if they do? What if I died tomorrow? You know, I write in my journal, I hope my husband reads it if I were to pass away, because everything that I write in it is my truth and it doesn't have to make sense to someone else.
Yeah.
And again, it's part of that being liked and accepted and people pleasing, you know, what if someone doesn't like what I think or say? It's irrelevant because it's your truth.
Yeah, I used to journal a lot. I used to write a lot. It is not something that is part of my everyday now. I tend to go to more, let me just close my eyes. Let me just kind of visualize things that make me happy or things that I'm aspiring to. But I do feel like there's a lot of therapeutic release that happens when you write. So it's just a nice reminder for me to pick up a pen every once in a while.
I like to do it in the morning. Also, it's a great end to the day to talk about what was amazing, you know, what you were grateful for, and also sometimes to write down what's not going really well. You know, I'll sometimes look back at the end of the week and go, what didn't feel good this week? Did I work too much, which can tend to happen with me? And I'm not going outside enough. I'm not taking enough time for myself. And then I feel run down. And, you know, we want to be coming from a place of joy. And if we're not in our life, then we need to figure out, what is that from? Is it from our relationships? Is it from our career? Is it from our lack of being in nature, which is really important for a lot of people's mental health and they don't even know it? Or, you know, could it be that they are struggling with depression and they've got some gut issues going on, which I know that we are coming up on a break, so I don't want to get into that just yet, but some things that we can do there to start to build up those positive feelings.
I love it. So we're going to get into more of like the gut health and the connection to if you're feeling happy or sad. So, all right, well, stay tuned. We've got more Are You Feeling Sad? A Vegucation from Being Sad right here. We'll be right back. Damn, I wanted to say something, but I forgot.
I'm smart and intelligent and entertaining. Is that what you were going to say?
All of those things. What was it, though?
Welcome back. We are giving you a vegucation from your sadness today. And I feel like we were talking about gut health, right? And how that can translate into being sadder, right? If you're constantly feeling bloated, if your stomach hurts, if you're not going to the bathroom, you're just genuinely going to feel uncomfortable. And we do know that the gut is going to produce a lot of the serotonin.
The gut is the brain of the stomach.
Correct. We don't get sad for no reason. While there can be some physical health components to it, it's also our relationships. You know, and let's talk about like the food that we eat. I always say this. So food can either bring you a higher vibration or a lower vibration, right? So let's say this morning you and I had green juices, we had a protein bar, we had a little bit of granola. Was that pretty high vibration food?
Yeah.
What if we would have had like a greasy pizza for breakfast? Where do you think we'd be falling?
Low vibration.
Yes.
And animals have feelings.
Animals do have feelings, and I do believe that when we are eating an animal that suffered and didn't want to leave this earth when it did, it can definitely translate into how we vibrate.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Another thing that I find interesting, and I have this on the back of on the wall behind my bed, it is the serenity prayer. So it's God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I just reflect on like when I'm having a moment of sadness, you know, is this something that happened to me? Is this something that happened for me?
Yeah.
Is this something that I can control? And if I can't control it, what value is it bringing to me to think about it, to sit in it? Is it something I need to just release to God, or if you know, whatever you believe in, release
God or
it
the
to
universe, we don't care.
Yeah. Just to let it go.
You know, understanding that we are in control, we do have the power to attract situations. So if we're always attracting stressful, negative, you know, awful people, we need to really look at that energy that we're putting out on a regular basis, because chances are we are the culprit of the things that we're attracting in our life. And a lot of people don't want to take that much responsibility to really own that.
And it's also like when a situation happens, like you said it, you can control how you respond. So if somebody's being nasty to you, you can decide, do I want to be nasty back, or do I want to protect the vibe that I'm putting out there and protect what's, I believe in karma.
Yeah.
What you put out, you're going to get back.
back.
So if you're kind to others, you know, you'll receive kindness back. If you're speaking positive and uplifting words to others and to yourself, that energy, it just, I mean, it really does shift like something physically within you.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, you know, community is at the top of the list.
Sure.
Having people that you are surrounded by that believe the same things as you, that really align with you on a lot of things can be so helpful, you know, but we couldn't have this episode without touching on alcohol, because so many people use it as not only a nervous system regulator, but also a big crutch. And, you know, when we're drinking alcohol, it's essentially killing bugs in our gut. That is what it does. Consider it like a hand sanitizer for your gut, and not in a good way. So, you know, if you are drinking alcohol and you are suffering from depression, anxiety, it's quite possibly one of the worst things that you can do. And so for someone who, both Brit and I are very empathetic people, you know, we definitely run on emotions and feelings. Alcohol really isn't a huge factor, if at all, in our lives anymore.
Yep.
Because it's not bringing any benefit. It's not bringing our vibration higher. If it does during that night, I can guarantee you that as you get older, it's going to get worse and worse for the days to come after.
Yeah. For me, I'm very much like a glass of wine, one glass of wine is enough for me. And it's not something that I do often. And I'm with you. I try to just be really mindful of like, what energy am I bringing into my life? And anything I have the power to control, I want to make sure it is like feel good vibes.
Yeah. Creating a vibe. We've talked about that how many times today? It is my tagline in my coaching.
Mantra.
It is the mantra, because we always have to create a vibe wherever you are. I don't care what the scenario is. You're stranded at the airport. You know, you are locked out of your car. You have a flat tire. Like, how can you make it into something that's a more enjoyable experience?
And that's not to discount that there are not situations that are painful, hurtful.
Absolutely.
Like there's moments where sadness is just something that we go through, right? We just have to make it to the other side. And so I also want to encourage everybody watching that no matter how dark, there is always another side. You're here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And you have to believe that about yourself. You are loved, you are appreciated, you are valued, and you belong.
100%. And, you know, when we think about death, right, because that's, I think, a place where a lot of sadness comes up, whether they've lost someone, whether maybe they know they're going to lose someone, whether it's unexpected. The biggest thing that I've learned from people who have such a huge vibration and huge faith is they're not afraid to die because they believe that what's on the other side is going to be far more incredible than they could have ever experienced here. And so again, when you change that narrative and then start to believe that, you know, of course you're going to miss that person. But if you start to believe that their life is going to be even more incredible there than it is here, it definitely makes things a little bit better, doesn't it?
It does. And then you focus on making the best of the life that you have here.
Correct.
And you feel really good about what's on the other side for you too. And so what I thought we could do as we wrap it up is just to kind of reflect on some of the tools that we talked about and really kind of summarize, how do we tackle sadness when it shows up?
First and foremost, right? Remember, if we're having tummy trouble, it is always going to translate into our mood. So start there. And if we're not, okay, then what are our relationships looking like, right? Do we need a reset? Are there people in our life that we don't find joy when we're hanging out with them? We're just hanging out with them because they've been around forever. It's not really a good trajectory for long term. You want people to elevate you, bring you to a higher vibration, bring you joy. Next thing I think, right, we talked about alcohol. You know, if you're dealing with any sort of anxiety and depression, alcohol has got to be one of the first things to go. It's not going to bring you to a higher vibration. It may during, but after you're going to plummet. And it is proven scientifically to mess with your dopamine levels. It gives you a false sense of dopamine. And then when you're sober, you're trying to reach that and you can't reach it without drinking again. And then I think the last thing, right, that I talked about a lot was community.
Yeah.
Building that community of people that, you know, believe a lot of the same things that you believe and support you in a way that feels so, so good to you and support you in your dreams. Like, that's the biggest thing is, you know, Brit is my hype woman.
Preach, yes, I
She
am.
literally makes me uncomfortable sometimes with the amount of times she tells me I'm amazing in the best way. And that's how your best friend should be.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's just going back to like mindset, because that's where it really started for me, is like, what do I believe? I will never forget this when we did your retreat, when you were talking about like the top 10 things that really like translate to your overall health. And I just never imagined that your number one on the list was going to be, what do you believe?
Yeah.
So belief is just so important. What do you think about? What do you say about yourself? Who do you want to be? Who do you believe you are? When you're experiencing moments of sadness, you know, what are the things that you say to yourself to either get through it, or do you say things that, you know, make you feel stuck there?
Yeah.
And I also feel like I have to make this plug, because you are my best friend, is if you can afford it, definitely get yourself a coach. You know, not everyone's blessed to have like a friend like me. So you don't. You could pay a life coach to really help you to work through a lot of those issues and really help to empower you to be your best self. And then the last thing I'll say is there's a lot of free resources too.
Definitely.
Going back to the visualizations, you know, YouTube, there's now apps. I think there's something on Netflix, you can just turn it on and it helps you to meditate. I never could have imagined 5-10 years ago what meditation would mean
Today.
in my life today. It is more than huge.
And again, I remember when we started at the beginning together, meditating together before we would go to like an audition or, you know, just calming ourselves. And, you know, the nervous system is at the top of my list for things that have to be in check. You have to feel safe in your own body. And I've been there. I know what it feels like. I will tell you, mine is not 100% healed. Neither are Brit's, but we're going for progress, not perfection. So I hope you are feeling vegucated.
Spirit fingers.
We'll be back.